What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Of course, you know it's your boy B-Hot Radio Shout in. Stepping in the building, I got an icon, a legend, one of the greatest to ever do it off in this thing. Dallas Austin, what's good with it, boss?
What's good with you, baby?
Man, feeling good, feeling great. Now, I mean, Dallas, first of all, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you off in the building, somebody that really put it down for the town. My first question is this, though. In this room and during my career, I've been piecing together this Atlanta story, okay? And anybody that I talk to, they always refer to Dallas Austin as the first person coming down in these Benzes, doing his thing and putting on for the town. What was that like kicking off this flavor in the city, man?
I mean, you know, it was crazy during that time because really, you know, for us, it was like we were kind of idolizing Dope Boys more than anything else, like, because that's the only people we knew that like made some money out of the hoods. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So like them and athletes, right? So you will see Dion Club 21, but then we'll see this person at the skating rink. We know what they're doing. We know what, you know, and so like for us, it was a crazy time of like not really thinking we was gonna make it like that. We were just doing what we do and just like having that passion for doing it and going to the skating rink, going to Jelly Beans, and you know, hanging out with Rico and Pat, Ray, then hanging out with T-Boz and all, you know, Divine, and all of us in the same place, just like, you know, doing what we do Atlanta style. Niggas is yeeking, they doing all that.
You know, but see, this is my other question though, Dallas. Did you feel like everybody that you knew at that time was gonna grow up to be stars and legends in their own right? Because it seems like all of y'all went on to be ultra successful, not a little bit successful, but I'm talking about industry dominating successful.
I felt like if one of us got through it, you know what I'm saying? Like I felt like when I started to crack through and when Jermaine started to crack through, like Silk Times Leather.
Yeah.
And we had the, you know, and I had like the Joyce Irby stuff going. Then we started to see like, okay, everybody else was still being our friends. They were still like, you know, whether it was Chad, Jermaine, or me and Reek and them, we were just like, but I was the one doing it already.
Yeah.
And you know, it was that thing, I think that when it did pop, all of them was already on the runway because they were like, shit, we want to do this too, you know. And they just hadn't got the recognition yet. People hadn't seen them yet. And so when we hit it, the light hit, then they started looking for everybody else.
Yeah.
And they were already ready. Everybody who was already trying, you know, it hadn't been a person, man, since I made it that I hadn't known before that or seen them come up through the studio or come up in the neighborhoods or come up and be like, oh, y'all making it too. Or come up and damn, now they doing music and they wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, we done seen it all, from Lil Jon to everybody. But at that time, and really at the time when we started taking off, because it was no reference before that. Like, you know, at the SOS Band and you had like people in them, but you couldn't really feel that in the youthful way, Cameo. You couldn't really feel that in the young streets that we were in because we were so young. I was 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
So when it resonated young, you know, and I think that for myself, for JD, for even Speech and Arrested Development, you know, everybody had that thing. And then all the New York people had started coming before that to Atlanta. And, you know, that's where I started. I was on Godby Road, and then my cousins and them would come from New York and play Eric B. and Rakim and stuff that, you know, with no internet then. So if you ain't had those mixtapes or somebody bringing it to you, you can hear it.
Facts.
But we would take that stuff, and me and Jermaine and them would just be like, man, we got to add that to our stuff down here. And we started making our own Atlanta because nobody was really messing with us. Like New York, they had hip hop. LA had, you know, something going on, but like Atlanta for us is like, oh, that's country or that's bass music. You know what I'm saying? So when we cracked it, it was just, I think we let everybody know something else could be done out of it, you know.
What was it like for you getting into this industry with no real prior knowledge of what was going on, man? Was it a whirlwind just trying to get adjusted to the fame and the business and the behind the scenes of everything, or how did you get acclimated to what was going on in the game?
Yeah, it was a trip because, you know, you come in creatively and then you find yourself out through contracts and trying to get paid for doing something, you know, if that's working or not. So it's rough because for us, you know, I've been in every possible contract it was coming up because I was so young. But, you know, each time I just said, you know what, I'm gonna mark this one off. You know, like the more I know, the more I deserve. The more I know, the more I deserve to know. The more I deserve. Right? If I don't know, maybe I don't deserve it. All right? Because I should learn shit.
Yeah.
So it was rough, but it impacted so hard, so fast. Like when we did, you know, I was in bad contracts the whole time. I was doing Another Bad Creation, Boys II Men, TLC. My mom was working at This Is It.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they selling millions My mom's this is a barbecue. So, you know, and they were on the radio. They were spinning. Like, by the time I got to TLC, Boys and Men and ABC had already blew up.
Exactly.
So yeah, she had This Is It.
What was that like for you watching ABC blow up? I mean, the songs that we love, those Aishas and stuff like that, the ones that hit all of the kids' hearts, man, you were responsible for those. So, I mean, what was that like hearing your song on the radio, seeing those videos getting done, and saying that I've been masterminding this stuff?
It was kind of surreal, man, and really because we didn't even, making music here in College Park and, having the kids come over and record songs and taking on the Linux and dressing them, that was our thing to do, but to be able to really see it come back through a TV or radio, like we hadn't really experienced it yet, so we didn't know what that was like. And when it started being on the radio, and I'll be in LA and it'll be on the radio, or I'll be here and then I remember I was at LA Reid's house when they first moved to Atlanta, and like this Motown Philly came on right behind Aisha, right behind, and he's just like, man, you doing all these songs out of here. But we're so country, man. Like, I'm just as country as everybody else.
Yeah,
So, like, I ain't want to go nowhere. I ain't want to mess with nobody else. She was from Georgia.
Yeah.
And when we started to make it, we really started to be like this around. We really started to, I think, be proud of what all of us were building different. Like if you look at LaFace Records, the whole LaFace Records was built by all of us. Same dudes from the skating rink, the same dudes from College Park. So there's me, Jermaine, Rico, and them.
Yeah.
So like all the TLC got all the same formulas on it. If it's Outkast, same formula. If it's it was just that was the go-to. That was us.
Working with folks like Another Bad Creation and Boyz II Men early on, man, what was that like? Just kind of sinking your teeth into both of those groups and leaving your stamp on their sound.
It was fun. Is what it was because. I wanted to sound like Hank Shockley and everybody from New York, right? But then I also wanted to sound like a songwriter on top of it. And I also took all these elements from all these different kinds of music I like, and I was just using that, using what they were doing with being mental and all the BBD stuff to kind of set off ABC, And when I saw that worked, I was like, when we started to get the records played, like Ain't Too Proud to Beg and all that stuff, my records had so much noise in them. Because,
that
noise. And they used to be like, what? Radio stations was just like, no, we ain't playing that.
Oh my God.
And so that's why with TLC, the video came out first.
Yeah.
And I think even with Another Bad Creation, once they saw him first, it was like, oh wow, these kids. And ABC blew up before Boys and Men. So we had the kids in the mall and people be chasing them. Them kids are terrified. They locked in the mall doors, they crying. They like Lil Dave was 5 years old.
Yeah.
You think about letting your 5-year-old be in a group.
Oh my God.
Now selling, that's already with platinum now, and then because they're so little, they were like a phenomenon because when you saw them dance and stuff, you were just like, everybody was just blown away. So like, when people see them in person, they were just like, ah.
What was it like for you dealing with that fame? And then obviously with the fame coming before the money did, how did you deal with that?
It was, I backed away from it. I kept trying to be like, okay, the more they try to get me to do stuff, I'd be like, oh man, come on, God. I always felt like if I put myself out front back at that point, that I would just limit myself to my records. I would just go, I wouldn't be able to do other types of records and stuff because I said, if anybody just looks at me as one way, when they see me, then that's gonna just box me in. So like, I started trying to back up more, but it started to happen. Like I remember when I did Monica, where they Don't Take It Personal. Clive was like, go make me a record like Creep, and I'm like, what is he talking about? I can't make a song like that for her. It makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
But when I turned in Don't Take It Personal, he was like, what is that? I said, well, it's a 13-year-old girl singing over backseat of the Jeep. Don't Take It Personal. It's one of them days. That's how they talk in Atlanta. His name's Monica. That's how And so for the longest, he was just like, no, that ain't it. She sings like Whitney Houston. She's supposed to be a singer. And I'm like, nobody really cares. She's too young.
Yeah.
So I got her attitude, when you meet her and the way she's just got all this attitude, and that's how that fits her character. We did this for like 9 months. And finally I was just like, man, we putting this record out. No. And when they put it out, they came back, man, this record's going crazy at radio. And I'm like, I'm trying to tell you, like, but we're making, Atlanta, we had a unique thing because nobody had heard the South sound any kind of way like this.
Exactly.
So we started making these songs like that was translating in New York and translating in LA and translating everywhere around the world. It wasn't Kilo, and it wasn't like Raheem the Dream.
Facts,
you know what I'm
facts.
saying? So it made it where it put a new light on Atlanta, and then everybody, this is even before, like this is during the first run, ABC, TLC, Boyz II Men, the first albums. Right after that, everybody started having record labels. The lawyers, the accountants, they saw us coming. They saw like, man, this is gold down here. You know, that's why LaFace came here.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there was like, these dudes in the South are down there in their own bubble creating, ain't anybody tapped into it yet, you know. And so ever since we started that, it's still going now.
What do you think it takes, or what do you think the qualities are of a star? When you have people like Monica, you see Boyz II Men, you see ABC, you see you done been around working with Madonna and Michael and everybody else. What do you think are the commonalities between all of them that make them who they are versus the average person that's trying to do it that might not be able to, that might not have the same doggone gift?
It's usually work ethic, man. Work ethic, and just like the ability to want that attention so bad that you'll do it better than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a hard thing to do. Like even the class clown gets all the attention, but like somebody who really wants the attention of the whole world and wants to express themselves and want everybody to hear that and everybody to be, you know, part of that, it's a big ordeal. And that's why a lot of times you see artists that they're gonna go through something, they're gonna make it big, coming from nowhere, and then they got all this attention, they got all these people when they show up at places, they got all these fans, they got all this stuff. It creates all this pressure for them, and then they're just like, hold on, I didn't know what this was like.
Exactly.
You know, I can't move freely, I can't do nothing no more without, you know. So it was a hard bridge to cross. But I think during that time it was a little even more different because you couldn't access them nowhere. Only time you could see them was on video.
Yeah.
If they showed up to your town.
Yeah.
So you heard it on the radio. So there's no other access to it. So they made everybody bigger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Working with folks like Madonna, what was that like when you said, okay, I don't want to be boxed into a certain sound altogether, so let me get in here with Madonna and produce her album and go crazy?
Yeah, it was. I knew when they called, her manager called me, and it was like, who did Creep? And I was like, you did that? And I said, yeah. It's like, man, she really wants to work with you. But when she came down, I didn't think she didn't really know what to expect. I had dreads down in here. I'm still like my Birkenstocks, I'm a little 5 points. You know what I'm saying? I'm still country. I don't want to go nowhere, you know. And so then she started to like adapt to the Atlanta culture. Which, you know, she was like, man, we go to a basketball game. It's different down here than over here. Club, it sounds different down here, you know.
Wait a minute, so you had Madonna in Atlanta recording?
Yeah. We went to the Hawks games. We went to like Tongue and Groove at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I would take her around to this stuff in Atlanta. You know, and by the time she was done, she's like, I want my stuff to sound like in the Jeep. I'll pick her up in my Jeep, and bumping, going down Piedmont. But yeah, she was in that mode where she wanted, the thing about her that was so smart is that she knows how to be Madonna. She wants people to accommodate that, but she wants you to do what you do.
Yeah.
You know, she wants you to do exactly what you do, and then she does what she does, and then it makes magic to it.
Yeah.
You know?
When it comes to making hits, though, Dallas, do you know off the rip when you in there producing that song that it's no way in hell that it's not going to be a hit, or do you let the people and the fans determine what song is the hit?
I mean, you used to be able, you have an idea, but now it's different because there's so many songs that come in. I don't think we were competing with 60,000 songs a day, a week coming out.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's, you know, more of an ADD generation. So like, you know, if you look at when Boyz II Men came out, it was really just Boyz II Men.
Yeah.
You know, you had Jodeci, but they were different from that because you still had like Shy and other things. But Boyz II Men was just really the only ones that take 6 maybe, but it wasn't 10,000 of them.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a different game now for everybody because it's way more people can make the music and way more people got access to put it out.
Yeah.
You know, whereas with us, you know, it took so much money to make the records. We had to go in the studio. We couldn't make it on the Mac. We had to go at the studio, put it on 2-inch tape.
Yeah.
Spend that, you know, that's $1,200 a day. That's like, you know, then mixing and mastering and all that. So if you didn't have no money, you couldn't really make no real album.
Exactly.
You know.
Getting with TLC and producing all of those hits for them, man, and watching those young ladies blow all the way the hell up. What was it like seeing them from scratch and then watching them go to the roof like everybody else? And did you feel like at that time that you were getting to a point to where you had the Midas touching this thing?
I feel like I I feel like I learned from like watching other things like Motown and a lot of other label brands like that. And once you get your brand, you find your different version of it.
Yeah. So
like, when Lou Pearlman started taking off, he had Backstreet Boys and he had Britney. So he had the girl version, the guys version, the group version. So I knew by the time we did ABC and Boys II Men, and it was already connected to BBD.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, here go the female version. And then I could take them and make them like this, but still it was about adding this Atlanta thing to it that people wasn't being able to access culture-wise.
Yeah.
They couldn't really access Atlanta culture even then unless you came down in here.
Yeah.
And you're still dealing with those still days of Freaknik and days of Atlanta being like Atlanta. So we were capturing all that stuff on the records, and Popeyes in it just because of the way I was writing the melodies and the songs and the girls' colors and all that. But we're taking everything from what we do here all the time,
Dallas, I'm gonna need you to get in that mic a little bit or pull it towards you, because when you said that Atlanta, you just kind of struck a chord in my heart. Okay, you took me back to my childhood, because when you try to explain Atlanta to people, it sounds like something mythical. Okay, people don't understand how everybody could be at a skating rink having the time of their life. People don't understand how Freaknik could come down and turn the city out. People don't understand culture of brotherly love, where people are really showing a lot of love out here in these streets at the same time as well.
I think it came from, if you take it back and keep taking it back, it's still, slave culture ports, all the stuff we grew up on, whether it was soul food or all, it's all been in dance culture, it's all been in your own culture. So also, if you fast forward, I used to tell people, yo, man, it ain't been 75 years that you couldn't go downtown.
Right? Facts.
That ain't a long time. So, if you look at your moms and grandmas and stuff and what they've seen compared to us, it's all about green, and they didn't want you to have the money.
Yeah.
That's what they didn't want you to get at. The Klan and whoever else was, all the mailmen and the drugstore owner and all that.
Yeah.
They didn't want you to get smart enough over here to take over the state. So in Georgia, it was just that natural progression of, everybody got smarter and smarter, whether you like it or not. They start creating their own language and their own stuff and their own rhythms and their own music and their own food, making what you thought was shit into dopeness.
Exactly.
And what we've done and what we started to do as music started to come out of here is you still feel all of that creativity. You still feel all of that stuff. You feel all of that, same culture. Like, people used to look at me and Jermaine and Jazzy Faye and Tricky Stewart and all of us, and all of us culture buddies. It's his birthday. We going by and say what's up. So they'll come from New York and LA like, y'all hang with each other like that. Like, y'all don't think he gonna take your this or do your that? We ain't never thought about that. We in the country. We gonna hang with you. We hang with you. We gonna fuck with you. We don't.
Exactly.
We don't really do that thing.
My God. When it came to studio sessions, what were the sessions that made you feel like it was going all the way down? And who were some of the most creative people that you worked with and you collaborated with, where it was like a slick marriage going on in there when y'all were making that music?
Well, Michael Jackson obviously was one of the just different kind of creatives, you know what I'm saying, in his approach to music. And then what's crazy is Janet was the same when I worked with Janet, because she was easy to work with, and she was just like, Dallas, whatever you say, whatever you want, whatever you think is the best. You know what I'm saying? That when you work with somebody that's like real superstars, they're really calm. They're like, it's a trip because you would think they were just like, no, this, that, blah, 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 blah. But like, for the most part, they're calm. And they're like, but all of their energy that they put into being a star and being on stage and being that stuff is like different than when they're around, because they kind of know what they want. You know what I'm saying? But those are probably my favorite two. Working with TLC was easy because it was like you lived the moments, and you kind of recorded whatever you were doing, and we were so around each other so much. It just made it where we would just like make records out of what we was doing, what we felt like was the moments.
You and Michael, they don't care about us, man. That's another one of those songs that, some of this stuff is just culture moving at the same time. Michael sang a lot of songs, but that one right there was one of those ones that kind of stood for something, okay? Talk to me about the impact of that song when y'all were making it, and what was your thought process going into that?
I mean, he had already, he had sent us like to the Museum of Tolerance, and he was kind of going through this whole thing where he was rebelling against everything, you know. And it's funny because they don't care about us. He says, "Kick like me, don't you black and white me," right? But because he had started getting into it with Sony at the time, then they took it and said, "Oh, you're making Jewish slurs towards us," and flipped that song, and they took the records off the show.
What?
Yeah, they were like, "Okay, you're gonna go at us, and you're gonna say," and he was like, you know, when you hear the song, you understand what he's saying. He's like, you know, but they spent the words on it and say, "Yo, you doing that? You saying out of all the stuff that he said he could say," he said they were like not having that, and they that's when they started having a real war. And you know, it was other parts about like even work with him, having the whole Brazilian army do the commercial for his album. Like, who go get an army? Hey man, I'm making my album project, and I need your whole army to be in the footage. So he goes to Brazil, and he imitated the Hitler film, but he got the whole Brazilian army to do it. And
that's crazy as hell.
He had the helicopter flying around the statue of him, remember? And and the army is like marching. That's that's in Brazil, and they gave him the whole Brazilian army to do it. So sometimes you're sending powerful messages.
Yeah.
You know, I would say that he had more power than any individual president at any time in his time, because he had, in any territory he went into, he was way more important than even their leader was. So that's a big threat too, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Can you speak to influence and the influence that music gives people, man? Have you seen people abusing their influence, and then who were the people that you saw that used their influence to really move the culture forward at the same time?
I mean, I think you're gonna always see, when you see people strive for excellence in this stuff, like if Chris Brown is dancing his ass off, you know it's some Michael Jackson influence in it, right?
Yeah.
You know some James Brown somewhere that Michael got to, you know. So I just look at it like when you see the people that really have magic. Some people are just doing their thing, they're dancing, they're going through routines. You know, you wouldn't say that that's an entertainer like that, you know. But other people you see push to the limit, and you're just like going, wow, like something about what he just did was incredible. Like something about what Beyonce just did was insane.
Yeah.
That's probably the only person on the planet that can do that. That's when you see, like, that's the difference in stars and superstars.
Another superstar, Deion Sanders, must be the money. I mean, I was doing my research. I said, Dallas brought us that song too. I mean, we still quote that song to this day, man.
That's hilarious, bro. Deion, when we first did the song, the Suge came to me to do it, so I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea. But he's like, I got Deion on death row, and he really wants you to do This Must Be the Money song. And I'm from especially in Atlanta at that time, you're like, that's Deion, you know what I'm saying? He's like prime time. I don't care what he is, he's still prime time. Like, he's the biggest thing ever.
Yeah.
But Suge just kept pushing me, and then I was like, I thought by the time I was like, nah, because I was really not trying to get involved in anything else. You know
Yeah.
But then he was like, nah, man, God for Deion, he really wants you to do it, man. And he's like, and I'll pay you right now for it. He said, you ain't got the record? I was like, yeah. He said, I got you right now. I'll pay you the money right now for it. And I was like, oh, word. I said, well, I got the record in the back. I just flip it. Plus, so, but what's crazy about that song is now it's in an A-flat commercial.
Yeah.
So, to go, it's a trip, man. Life is, especially with music. Music and copyrights are things that's like, little bites you take out of time, right? And photographs, things that help you go back. Like you hear a song and it's gonna recall that moment to you. Like every time I hear that, I always think about when Silk was trying to get me to do it. I always think about Deion doing. I always think about Deion in Club 21 with them chains on.
Yeah.
And being like, and all that was influenced us in Atlanta. That was what was influencing us to do better. Like, because we were able to see black dudes, having like mad money. They were athletes, Deion, Dominique.
Yeah.
But you saw it, and that gave you like, and I think, even us being from College Park and, being in the South Side and all that, to see it was still like something. If you saw it, then you could get to it, right? Because we didn't even go to Buckhead. Buckhead was considered out of town.
Mm.
You know, we live in College Park.
Yeah.
You got as far as Greenbrier.
Yeah.
And other thing was Cheddar Mall. That was it. So that mentality stayed like that too, you know. So when you start to see other things, you know, I don't care if it was drug dealers at the time. I don't care if it was athletes, you know, anybody. You saw black people that had stuff. And that right there just started to go nuts like food. Like, okay, we can have that. Let's get it. Then. Let's get it. And then we were able to show others, and then others and others, and the thing. And then the train started going.
How did you maintain your humility throughout it all, though, Dallas? I mean, you're a young prodigy in this thing, going crazy and changing the game and dominating the charts at the same time. What was your center that kind of kept you from losing your mind and acting a fool? Or was you acting a fool?
No, man. I didn't start acting a fool later. We was already done and doing it then.
Yeah.
No, I was so like just in my own world. You know what I'm saying? Like I was able to quickly get me in the studio when I started Dark.
Yeah.
And that became like just heaven for everybody. That became like a center. You know, so I was spending so much time there. Like I didn't even leave the country till I was like 27. You know. So I wasn't even traveling nowhere. I was just Atlanta, maybe go to LA or New York, but I was Atlanta. And I was just like, man, I would see people turn into other stuff. Like I would see them get arrogant. I would see them, you know, and I would see it, you know, the only way, when you get that far up, you got to come down. You can climb down or you can fall. Like,
ooh!
But you're going to, you know, usually if you climb down, you can climb yourself back up.
Yeah.
You know, that slam though on you, you get slammed out all kind of ways. But it's going to happen. You don't stay up forever. But that's what I, you know, and like I said, I always wanted to sustain myself for a long time. And I'm like, if I'm going to do that, I got to stay back off the radar. I got to be like, now I would be in places and I'm supposed to go meet with someone in a hotel lobby. And these old white men are standing there and they're waiting on Dallas. And I'm standing right next to him. Right? Because all they heard was I'm pretty and pink and all that. So it's no way I'm supposed to be me.
Yeah.
Know? They're looking for, you know, a producer, this old white dude to quit to see somebody. But so I would like that. I would like, and that was going on at a young age too. I was doing so much music in Europe and places like that. That, you know, that's how I ended up getting, you know, we were heavy songwriters. That's how I got in the Hall of Fame. Was like, it's only 140 people in the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
Come on.
You know, me and JD.
And so two of them out of Atlanta. My God, that's ridiculous.
Same hood since we've been doing it since we were friends, since we were little.
Oh my God. So when it comes to being a songwriter though, Dallas, what was the song that you really felt like you just wrote the hell out of that song? Or what was the song that meant the most to you personally, where you just kind of poured it all out in there?
Probably like, I mean, Unpretty is one of them. Then, you know, really Creep was one of them because it was really, you know, you like, all my songs you write about stuff you done went through or stuff you're going through, but either, to me it was more like, well, all the shit she said I did, that's to hurt her feelings. So like, now, you know, I can flip it and say, well, this is how a girl feels she's a guy, and that's how I write TLC songs, that's how I write a lot of other people, like girl songs, is because I would sit with them, talk to them, and then be able to understand, okay, you know, because you got to be able to admit and say, okay, yeah, you know what's wrong, that was a fuck up, I should have did something else, or maybe I should have did something better, and then there you got a song in there, you got to, you know, and then, but like, a lot of songs, like, I'll get in trouble for some songs. Dudes would be like, come on, dude. Like, hit 'em up style.
Hit 'em up style, Blue Catrell. Yeah. Let's send us to the poorhouse.
You know, man. But learning how to make, doing that era, too, is about how do I make the girls cool?
Yeah.
And to be cool, you got to adopt kind of a dude's mentality.
Yeah,
And, you know, to have that girl enough power or that attitude enough to be that way.
Exactly. What was that point or that tipping point where you finally felt like you made it and that you knew that you was going to be able to stay in the industry for a long time? Or did you never get comfortable in the game?
I never really got comfortable. I was like, I would go through, what I would do is, if I felt like I wasn't tuned in enough or feeling this type of music enough to be dope at it, you know, I might could do something at it, but I don't know. I want to be on top at something. So let me go over here where ain't nobody at, you know. Yeah. So then, you know, I said, well, let me go do like Pink and Gwen Stefani and do all these other stuff that makes me in that arena the cool guy.
Exactly.
Right? Over here it could be crowded. Like at one point, you know, like especially with a lot of Atlanta music and a lot of R&B music and stuff like that, got to the point where it was just on that thing. Yeah. You know, it was Neptunes, it was Timbaland, it was that, it was this, it was that. It was like, and everything was just rolling there, and then everybody's sound had such a signature to it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, well, I never had a signature sound, so I'm not really gonna win in that way. So I got to stay in my songwriting lane, and then just make sure my production is up.
Exactly. Working with folks like Madonna, Duran Duran, and Gwen, and all of those people, what was the difference in the checks between the R&B and the hip hop, and then being able to cross over with the music?
Oh, tremendous.
And how did that affect you mentally when you was thinking, I'm doing the same thing, I'm just doing it for a different genre?
Because, like if you got somebody like, a great song is always going to be a love song, or always going to have, like, it's only 8 ways to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
If you trend it or date it, it's going to stay there, right? But if you just make it classic, so I love you is always going to be said. So, I would look at the songs like The Pink, Just Like a Pill, and, the songs that would just be huge, worldwide songs. A lot of times I would do the same overseas as I would do in America. And a lot of people do either a lot in America, not that much overseas.
Yeah.
A lot overseas and not that much here. And that's one of the things I was able to transcend, both just the world with the melodies and songs and stuff that I was being influenced from over there and over here too. So it's like taking pieces of stuff that you thought people, I guess they call them algorithms now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's taking pieces of things you thought people would be familiar with, and just putting a gumbo to it, as you call it, to mix it all together. And then you just see what you come up with. But you never know. Like, even when you go in the studio, whether it's now or whether it's then, the best part about it is you have no idea what you're gonna do.
What do you think it was inside of you that allowed you to maximize your gift and your talent?
Really, just like the freedom to kind of bob and weave my career. When I started Rowdy, I was like, okay, well, I can do Aretha Franklin's and all that stuff over here, but over here I could just do anything I want. Just like, I can have Fishbone signed over here.
Yeah.
I can have, Backwoods signed over here. So it was like, that was like my playground to me. And that's what, then having the stores and stuff here, and then having Rowdy as a part of the alternative element of Atlanta. That gave me, like, that pacified my, because anytime I felt like I was in too much of any kind of box, man, it just like tossing and turning.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to do something else. And coming up in that time, especially, they were like, no, if you do this, that's what you do.
Yeah.
So I was able to just kind of transcend it by just like, okay, let me pick the right artist and do the right songs to show them I could do it just as well as the white producer, just as well as the rock producer,
How many times were you able to turn your pain into money through songwriting? And were there any times where that pain almost broke you so bad that you almost quit and said,
man,
you know what, I'm done?
It's like that happened a lot of times. Like, shit, like I said, I would mask mine enough, because a lot of it would come through women's songs. So I would mask mine enough to put it back to them. Then, like Cool with Gwen Stefani. When I wrote that song, then they wanted TLC to have it. But I'm like, me and Chili just broke up, so no. And the song is about us being cool now. But I don't want to sing that with her. I was writing that for somebody else.
Yeah.
Somebody else sing it, then you don't know where it comes from. I'm supposed to know where it comes from, but then sitting with her, and she go, oh yeah, well, remember this, remember that. It breaks the song too. And so that song was like, once I got it done, I finished it with Gwen, and then because I added her stuff to it, it was like, okay, now that's cool.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, man, through all the songs, it's always something in there that either I went through, or I just know how to look at it through a girl's perception, and then just flip it back through them instead of
With you and Chili both being in the industry, did it make it easier for y'all to be in a relationship, or did it make it a lot more difficult? Because a lot of times I hear folks saying that, I'm doing this and my partner doesn't understand what it is that I'm doing, and I can't be in a relationship with somebody that don't understand what it is I got to do. Right. But with both of y'all being in the game at the same time, did it make it easier? And then also, what was it like having one of those situations to where everybody was looking at you in the middle of your relationship?
I mean, it made it easier at some points, but then it made it harder at other ones. Like, just like anything else, because you got work involved in it. But because me and the group was always around each other so much, then it made it easier in that context, because you didn't know it any better. But it until you get past, and then a lot of business shit was going on with everybody. So until everybody got situated and grew up through their own stuff, then everybody had junk to go through.
Yeah.
A lot of it pertaining to music, you know what I'm saying?
Introducing Biggie to Michael Jackson. Those two icons right there. What was that like getting them two together?
Oh, it was amazing. Like, I didn't think Michael was gonna like what he was doing, but when he did, it was just like, it was crazy because seeing the dichotomy of the two of them, because Michael did want that extreme. He didn't want anything that was nice, so he wanted something that he felt like, okay, this is how I want to express myself. Well, Biggie was maybe 19.
My God.
So man, him sitting in the car, he just pinching himself like, man, I can't believe I'm doing this. And it was just like surreal for me and him. We just sitting out in the car talking while he's writing a rhyme. And but and to have him, I think to have it where, especially during that time, rap, hip hop just got to the point where it's multi acceptable. Like, okay, you can be 50 Cent now and get shot 5 times and all that, and get vitamin water and get and have 10 movies on TV. Whereas before it was like, nope, we don't want to have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Right. So that was in the middle of that starting to happen. So it was a little shock value to it, but then it started to be, okay, Biggie is acceptable, as a character, what he does, not just like what people think he influenced. Because brands and artists could be like that. Like, we don't want to have that influence connected to us. You know what I'm saying?
Now, what you talking about Biggie pinching himself before he went in there, for you, Dallas, were there any artists that you got a chance to work with that you had to pinch yourself and say, wait a minute, I can't believe I'm in here working with so-and-so, and then what was that experience like? Or did it get to a point to where it was just all the same after a while?
It was the same difference, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was looking to Duran Duran, I definitely was pinching myself.
Yeah.
Because their voice was just so distinctive. You'd be like, oh man, that's that sound,
Yeah.
You're working with Michael, you're like, yeah, you're working with Michael Jackson, there's another one. So it's like the thing about it is, I was able to grow up on most of the people I work with. All right, so like, it was like, dang, man, like I was listening to this or watching this or wanting to be that keyboard player in their band and wanting to do that, So I grew up on all of that. Now you're working with them, so it's like, at first you just always like, damn.
Yeah.
Then it starts to be like, okay, here they come.
Who pissed you off in the studio to where you was like, you know what, I'm sick of y'all shit and I'm up out of this thing?
If it's only time that's really happened, because I try to vet that before.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to be in a position where I'm working with somebody, I done got money to work with them, and then I don't like them.
Yeah.
So if I had vetted that out before, be like, you know what, I don't think that works out. But I had a hard time with Macy Gray. She's the only artist I probably had a hard time with, because she was cool. We were friends. But she was also so used to doing her own stuff. But I haven't really had I don't think I've ever been like, that's it to nobody, because I try to vet that out before I work with people. Yeah. I feel like if I'm gonna go in there with not knowing who I'm working with, I can't do my best stuff. So I'll spend a couple of days going to talk to you and hang out before we even did anything.
Big old facts. Working with folks like Biggie, and then you have to mention Tupac at the same time. Now we in a day and age in hip-hop where we're having a hard time keeping our artists alive. But can you speak to what the emotions were like back in those days when Tupac and Biggie both passed? How did that impact you, seeing the streets take out 2 prominent artists?
Well, a lot of that stuff got amped up by, you had Vibe at the time. That was the only magazine you had. You didn't have no internet and nothing like that.
Yeah.
So you had the magazines and the streets.
Yeah.
And it's a different feeling. That eeriness feels a little bit different than now, because now you got everybody, they can talk trash on Instagram, all day long, and they can they get their energy out.
Yeah.
Sometimes something go down. Sometimes it's just like, oh, they just talking trash. Where before you didn't have that kind of outlet, that platform, so you would hear it in the streets, and you would hear it here, and then next thing you know, all that energy, and you didn't have that much ways to track people, so it was nothing like that. So it felt more extreme when something like that happened. You really felt that in the environment. Like, not that you don't feel, dull for some people like that in the environment, because I think, Nipsey, of course, you felt in the environment. Yeah. But it was a different thing because you wasn't as used to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was
fresh. It was new.
That was the start of it.
Yeah.
That damn beats can really get people killed on rap records. So I think that was the other thing. You got now, you kind of like, oh, Damn, he died. Damn, it's messed up. But you're not as surprised as we were then.
When you look at the industry and you think about what it's morphed into, especially just even with Atlanta, you and JD coming out of the gate, making noise, and now if you don't even come through Atlanta, then you ain't gonna have a popping album. You got to have some kind of flavor coming out of this city. Yep. Was that something that y'all were working towards at that time? And then at what point was it that you felt like, hey man, this city is turning all the way up in this thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's something we started to feel a long time ago when people started coming here for us. You know, if I got Madonna coming to Atlanta, standing there, if I got Gwen Stefani, if I got, you know, these people are coming to town, Will Smith, and we working with them, bouncing them around town, but they coming here for that. They coming here to see how do you do that and what's that sound and how y'all making it.
Yeah.
So we started to see that then, and it's like the same thing, man. Like when that one light started to hit on us, that light is still spreading.
Yeah.
You know, it started, then it started doing like this. Now it's spreading, and it's still spreading, and it's still going this. But it's the same light that started all of this.
Yeah.
You know? And giving us the outlets that we have now. Like if it wasn't for Gerald Busby and Motown and us having the outlets for Another Bad Creation, and because the thing Atlanta didn't have was outlets. It was small labels like Ichiban or something like that. But you didn't have no major distribution outlet here to take your stuff and be, there it go. It wasn't in L.A. and New York, and you couldn't even get to a record company, you know. So, you know, now it's you know, it's changed into even beyond what we thought it would be.
What is it that you think got to be in the record to make it touch the hearts of men and just people globally? As somebody that made global records.
One thing is just got to be a realism to them. You know, because a record is supposed to be something, a recording will be the event that just happened to you. That's how it started. So, you know, that's why country music or blues and stuff like that always sound like it's immediate. Most of the hits that you hear, they're immediate. Something happened to make them get that out of them. You know what I'm saying? So, realism is always the key. Like, how much do they believe you? You know, whether it's Who Dad Is or whether it's Hello from Adele. You know, you believe who they're coming from each person, you know what I'm saying?
Coming into the game as a youngster and then having the longevity that you had, were there any things that shocked you along the way that you were like, okay, now I didn't know that all this was going on, or what was it that allowed you to be able to even deal with that stuff if you did see it? But were there any times that you were like, okay, I didn't sign up for this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, being in the music business, you start getting into the business parts and you be like, yeah, I ain't signed up for this.
Exactly.
You know, it's a lot of, it's a lot of snakery because it's money.
Yeah.
You know, and it's money that doesn't really have a rhyme or reason of how it's made or done or who gets it. You don't even understand half the time how you make it as an artist. Sometimes you're just like, oh man, they just like what I'm doing, and you know they don't understand what elements they like or don't. They just get it in general, and you think it's always going to be there. That's the thing that Ken learned the most is that, you know, you got to pay your taxes, like it or not.
My God.
And you got to know that this ain't gonna, the money that you're spending and making every week ain't gonna stay there. Like it ain't gonna always, don't care who you are, it ain't gonna always be there. You can save it and you can have it when you get older, but you know, and your records can generate it for you, but it's usually gonna be some difference in the way you're functioning at some point, you know, in your career. So you wanna make sure that you still think of stuff like that, you know.
What were the points in which your life changed? Like when you were able to go home and say, all right, Mom, you ain't got to work at This Is It no more because it's going down in this thing. Oh, yeah. What were those turning points for Dallas Austin?
When I got my first 50 grand, I told my mom, you got to stop working. And, you know, after I settled the deals I was in, like I said, the bad deals. And then once I settled it and got the money, then, you know, being able to get my mom a house, you know, and get her car and have her chill and know that, you know, I'm returning the favor that she gave me for those 18 years.
That's right.
That was a big tipping point in my life because I've been working, and she had been supporting me for the longest to be like, all right, I'm gonna support you, but you better do it.
Yeah.
You know, especially with living in College Park.
Come on.
You know, because I'll be out with everybody and still be trying to get to the studio all night and. You know, so I was glad to be able to say, see, you know, I was right.
Yeah.
About this and be good, and you know, so that was one of my biggest tipping points. Then getting the Grammys was another one.
Come on.
all these things that you see when you on TV when you're young, and you're like, okay, one day if I ever tend to make it in this business, I hope I get, because there's tons of people that don't get them or don't get, you know, those kind of awards and stuff. So that one was one, and then definitely the Songwriters Hall of Fame was like a trip.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't think you could feel that surreal, you know, no more about something. It was a trip.
Because that's the top of the top. So when you get to the top of the top, was there anything left for Dallas to do when he got into the Songwriters Hall of Fame? Or was it like, all right, y'all, I done proved the point. I'm about to go over here and cool out on y'all ass?
No, man. That's why I started the distribution company.
Ooh.
So we started, it's a year anniversary today, by the way.
Congratulations.
So, and we've had a lot of labels, producers.
That's slick. That's a slick ass name
artists.
too, Dan.
Yeah,
That's a slick name. I'm with you.
You know what's crazy is they used to always call me Dad around here. Big Boy and them, like, because I always knew, you know, I would always try to tell them about country.
The game,
like, just
yeah.
something, yeah, to switch the game. So, like, Dad been to turn around Atlanta for a minute. That's been that way, too. So I was like, damn, this is perfect.
Yeah.
I get to now distribute people's music and help them, you know, own their stuff, help them and I love it, man. Like, we get so much music through. And I like to listen to music, so I just pick my days. I just go back and like, let's see what this sounds like.
Yeah.
Let's see what that sounds like. That's been great, man. Just having a distribution company and having that next level of it. It's just a whole nother level for me, because record company is even one thing. You know, we still have Rowdy.
That's right.
But with DAD, we have tons of people, and children's books, and, you know, artists from Cuba and Korea, and, you know, so it's you sign up at home, so everybody's signing up whenever they want to be a part of it.
The internet brought everybody into the palm of your hand. So what is that like now, being able to have all of these ideas as a creative and then having your distribution situation? How did that impact you moving forward in your career with the technology changing everything?
Oh, it was huge, because we could do more than, you know, they call it user-generated content.
That's right.
So you can get on your Mac and do everything now.
Mm-hmm.
So that changed everything tremendously, because it lowered the scale of music. Because, you know, things were able to cut through music that if it was paid for, like we had, you know, or dealt with like it was before, it wouldn't have made it through.
Yeah.
But so it allowed people to, you know, a lot of people became really successful because of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like the floodgate open for creatives that probably wouldn't have made it that way, like even a Soulja Boy. You know? So it was, you know, it was a trip to see how vast and how fast it's changed. But, like, you know, and I think it's still changing. It's still, you know, they got some Band-Aids in it that still need to be fixed in it.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, to be able to, you know, have your music heard around the world as soon as you load it up.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to make it without having to spend $3,000 in the studio to make a song, then, you know, those are all pluses.
What do you think about how it changed from analog to digital, and then with the hard copies going to the streams and stuff like that? Did you have any hard time trying to, you know, understand the new lingo and the new jargon that came along with digital, or was it something that you just kind of picked up naturally?
I had a programmer with me all the time, so he would pick it up, and then I would pick it up from him.
Yeah.
So it was a natural transition to just be like, you know, when you're working now, it's like, okay, man, we got Pro Tools, we ain't using what's the name no more.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I think everybody has that transition period, that learning curve period. If you're used to working on your MPC, now you got to go to Ableton, or you know, but it's fun. It's like, you know, the options it gives you makes everything worth it.
Now, when it comes to your career and your hindsight being 2020, was there any lessons that you had to learn more than once that you was like, you know, I'll just keep on fucking up when it comes to this?
Oh man, that's gonna always be a relationship. You know, because there's no rhyme or reason in them. But you know, I try not to do that. I try to, like, you know, when I go through something that set me on fire, I ain't going back in there.
Yeah.
You know, I might go through another one.
How can you even have a relationship when you are Dallas Austin with so much access to so much stuff, man? How do you even focus and zero in on a relationship? Is that even possible?
It's got to be easy enough to, like, you know, I think a relationship with anybody is like somebody that I won't say don't bother you, but
Yeah.
you know, they got to be there to help you and help accommodate whatever you need to.
Yeah.
And then it becomes like, okay, that's how the relationship works, because you can't be as busy as I am with as much stuff, and then, like, have somebody who's trying to figure out where their time fits in at,
Exactly.
because then that just don't work, you know.
Traveling the world, though, Dallas, where did you have the most fun outside of Atlanta? When you finally got to the point where you said, okay, I'll leave the city and peek around.
Oh, London.
Talk to me.
London, by far. London is incredible.
What was it that was happening in London that put a smile on your face?
I mean, for one, they're still speaking English,
Yeah.
so you're good there. But it was just the old architecture, the people, the perspective that they have over there is just totally different, and like it's a lot more fun. Europe, period, is that way for me. Like, just being in Europe, you'll see, the blinders of being here from here start to come off a little bit.
And that's what I want to kind of delve into right now, too. Culturally speaking, when you're traveling around the world and stuff like that, what experiences kind of opened up your mind to also help you on the creative side of things at the same time, too, that you would not have experienced here in Atlanta?
I mean, definitely going out, listening to music, seeing how different cultures do different things, and the food.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It helps you understand what their culture is. It's basically just like, just soaking up the environment, because you get influenced by what you're around. So the soaking up that environment is what it really was.
Artists of today, who is Dallas Austin listening to? And you said, okay, you jamming, you get Dallas's stamp of approval, and I like what you got going on over there.
I mean, I really like Dirk.
Yeah.
I just like him as a person. I like him as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
I like his transitions, the way he's positioning himself. As far as like the trillion of rappers that's out.
Yeah. Sure.
You always gonna like the Kendricks and the J. Cole's and people like that. But as far as the younger ones, I like his demeanor in his place. So and what he's putting out through his music. Then other than that, that's when I start. I go off into this like the never land of just like trying to find new stuff all the time.
In this world where you have so much content and so much talent and so much music just coming out on a daily basis, I'm talking about millions and billions of hours of stuff being dropped on YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Do you ever think that we will get back to a point to where the quality will be greater than the quantity that we have out here now?
No, it's too much quantity. It'd be impossible. I think you have good quality, but I don't think it'll get to the point where it exceeds it like it used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, way more quality than quantity, because you had to get people to pay for it.
Balancing the industry and family with the kids and stuff like that, and with mama them, how were you able to balance the time in between both of them, or was it a situation to where it's like, hey, y'all know what Dallas over there doing, just deal with it?
Well, no, you had to balance it, man. It was like, you can never do enough, but you do balance it. I still balance it to this day. I still go to my mom's in the morning and go over there with her in the evening, check on her,
yeah,
make sure she's good, talk to her on FaceTime 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Son works with me too, so it's like you still, it's easier now that everybody's grown compared to, when you're trying to go pick somebody up from school and you miss the PTA meeting and you get to the soccer game on time, and but you got to balance it out. I think it just, if not, it doesn't make you feel good in any way.
How do you think people should come into the industry handling fame and money when you're getting it in absorbing amounts? When you come from nothing, you're coming out of poverty, and then next thing you know, you've been slapped with this fame, you've been slapped with this money. How do you think people should handle that?
You should try to. It's hard because you never had it, so you're gonna spend it.
Sure.
You're thinking about what you're gonna buy before you even get it. So, but you gotta. It's hard to tell you how to look ahead of that though, and think about it on the curve, and just calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah, just calm down, man, and it's no way near the stuff you buy. You don't even know where it is later.
Were there any purchases that you made that you regret like hell to this day?
All the stuff I lost. All the shit I can't find. How many watches and how many chains and how many... all that stuff.
What is the best advice that you have for artists coming into the game today? What does Dallas want to tell them and lay on them?
Dream, man. Dream all day. Like, you got to dream, and you got to, like, I always say, like, look for the purple cow.
Yeah.
So you can be the same but different.
That's right.
And, if you're not doing it enough to, like, if you're not dying about it, like, if you're not, if you're doing something else more hours than that ain't for you.
How do you get people to understand past that cliche? Because see, the whole thing is when you tell folks you got to work hard, it sounds like a cliche, but it's really the damn truth. So how do you get folks to see that, hey man, I'm not just shooting you no BS, I'm telling you, you really got to work hard.
Well, there you can judge your own work. You can look and see if you got enough followers. If you don't, it's on you.
Yeah.
If you haven't done, like, you know, they got too much access right now. So it shows if you ain't working hard. It shows if you ain't, that ain't for you, it ain't for you.
Yeah.
But there's somebody else right now that's sitting there with 2 million followers that are generated by themselves. You know, or at least 100,000 that are generated by themselves, or 300 doing this all day. So, you know
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lastly, how can these folks contact you? And is there anything that you want to let your fans know about Dallas?
Yeah, man. Check out, you know, the distribution company and DAD NFT.
Hit me about them NFTs. Now, what's really going on with that, Dallas? Because I'm seeing it taking over the internet right now as we speak.
Yeah.
We're talking about metaverse and everything else. How influential do you think those NFTs will be in the future as far as commerce, I guess?
It's gonna be normal. It's gonna stay. It's art. You know, it's no difference than the Andy Warhol soup can selling for $1,200, $12,000 while he's living, and then $120 million while he's dead. They just didn't get none of it. So
yeah,
that's the best way to explain it. Is it's art.
Okay.
It's the great new form of music and art because it tells you, it's very transparent. Who's buying it, who's got it, what it's worth, and like anything else, it's a tipping point. You know, so it's none of that's going nowhere. Actually, it's just going to grow and calm down and be a standard. Because we started DAD NFT a year ago now. So to hear a year later how many more people know what it is and try to understand what it is, you know, it's a rabbit hole you got to dive into because you don't got your wallets and your this and cryptocurrency and all that.
Yeah.
So some people hear it and say, yes, the NFT is cool, I want one, but don't know what it is and don't know what it takes to do it. So we do some NFT management, but really it's about just setting it up so people, you know, all the artists get what they deserve from doing their art.
And where do you see the game going in the future?
It's gonna all be digital. It's all digital now, so they ain't gonna get no less digital. That's for sure.
No, hell no. Exactly.
You know, but yeah, that's why it's gonna hit. It's more digital, man, and more metaverse. And more,
Okay.
You know, and we keep creating. You know, once you get to one tier with something, it's human nature to just want to do more. So,
Thanks.
You know, it's gonna be a super digital world. I look forward to it.
I can dig it. And finish up what you were saying about DAD.
So that's my daughter's dinner that she's having for her wedding. I'm supposed to be at.
Oh, well, shit, nigga. Let's wrap this thing up so you go handle your business, Dallas.
So yeah, man. But yeah, check us out at Dallas Austin Distribution.
Yes, sir.
www.daddistro.com. Rowdy Records. We're still looking for artists. Still looking for producers and writers around town. Looking for graphic designers. I'm looking for everybody. So anybody, you know, hit us up. And yeah, man, we looking forward to this year.
I can dig it. Dallas.
Thank you, bro.
Man, thank you so much for coming through this thing, man. Wish you nothing but the best and much success. Be High Radio, shout it. We go.
Radio, we out of here.